You know that scene in every heist movie where the mastermind finally reveals the plan and it's just so obvious in retrospect that you feel kind of stupid for not seeing it coming? Except this time, the mastermind is a very elderly, spray-tanned man who can't remember what he had for breakfast this morning except for Adderall. And he just announced the heist while on live television, standing next to a senator who looks like he might climax at any moment. It's giving I'm not racist but energy, except it's not I'm not racist, it's I'm not invading for oil, but we do need total access to that oil and all the other things which are also very oil adjacent, if you catch my drift. Or like when your friend says they're having people over for a small chill hangout and then you show up and there are 15,000 troops, aircraft carriers, and somebody's already calling dibs on the oil reserves and you're like, what the fuck? And they're like, I said it was chill. That's the moment that happened on Air Force One.
Short-term, next 2 weeks, what do you need from Delcy Rodriguez? You've threatened Delcy.
Total access. We need total access. We need access to the oil and to other things in their country that allow us to rebuild their country.
What other things?
A lot of things. Roads that aren't built, bridges that are falling down. Yeah, bridges that are falling down, nobody can go anywhere.
And on Greenland,
Reporter asked Trump, what do you need from Venezuela's vice president? And his answer is 2 words, total access. Then he clarifies access to the oil and other things. And then he just kind of trails off into this like bridges and that's the reason why. And this whole operation makes 0 sense at that point. Like there's not necessarily the humanitarian justification, not the democracy promotion, not the war on drugs, just oil, just resources, just American companies getting their hands on the world's largest proven oil reserves while the rest of us are told it's about saving Venezuela from itself. This is the part that should terrify you more than the invasion itself. It's not just what we did, but why we did it and who benefits from it. If Donald Trump were kidnapped by a foreign dictator in the dead of night, plucked from the White House by special forces while bombs lit up the DC sky, would I be happy? Would I sprint naked through the streets with my friends screaming with joy? Listen, we've already discussed this and the answer is absolutely yes. We have a group chat dedicated to this exact scenario. However, this is a big however. This would also be a very terrifying precedent that undermines every principle of international law and sovereignty. Would I wake up the next morning coming down from the high and realize, okay, we just opened a door that we can never really close and we don't know who's going to come fill this spot? Could be Putin. Also, yes, would I feel a creeping sense of dread about what kind of world we're living in now? Fuck yes. That's the impossible position Venezuelans are in right now. And here's the thing. I cannot claim to know what they're feeling. I definitely cannot and will not tell them how to feel about watching their dictator get snatched off of Venezuelan soil by American forces. What I can talk about, though, is how Trump is a fucking idiot. So if you want more unfiltered takes on all this chaos, please subscribe. Katie Miller doesn't want you to hear this stuff. And she doesn't want me to have a significant lead over her YouTube subscribers, which is exactly why you should hit subscribe. Because while the world is grappling with the enormity of what just happened, I'm in the US, military has invaded a Latin country and kidnapped its leader. First time since Panama in 1989. Trump is doing his classic Oscar the Grouch routine, popping out of Air Force One like he's emerging from a garbage can to yell at reporters. And this time he's brought special guests, Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio. Yes, Lindsey Graham, the senator who gets visibly aroused talking about military intervention. The man who practically needs a cigarette after watching drone footage. Graham has spent decades as Washington's most enthusiastic warmonger. The guy never met a conflict he didn't want to escalate. He's been calling for strikes on Iran, invasions of Syria, and basically any military action that crosses his desk. And now he's standing next to Trump, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning because he finally got his regime change in the Western Hemisphere. And then there's Marco Rubio, Trump's Secretary of State, who somehow managed to be both invisible and embarrassing in equal measure. Rubio, the same guy who spent time as Florida's House Speaker, using party credit cards for personal expenses like groceries and car repairs, the same guy who requested legislative earmarks that conveniently aligned with his future consulting work, is now in charge of American diplomacy. His most notable achievement as Secretary of State so far?
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has directed diplomats to stop using the Calibri font on State Department correspondence and return back to using Times New Roman, specifically size 14. Rubio's predecessor, Antony Blinken, switched to Calibri 2 years ago to ostensibly help those with disabilities such as low vision and dyslexia. In a memo, Rubio called the move another wasteful DEIA program and that he switched back to Times New Roman to, quote, restore decorum and professionalism to the department's written work products.
Ordering the State Department to switch from one font to the other. Yes, really. While the world burns, Rubio is fighting the good fight against fonts. Rubio has also earned a perfect 0 out of 100 from the Human Rights Campaign for his record on queer rights. He opposes marriage equality, he voted against non-discrimination protections, and has made a career out of his transphobic rhetoric. He flipped on immigration reform when it became convenient for him. He spent 2026 calling Trump dangerous and unfit before immediately crawling back to lick his boots, and is now standing there nodding along as Trump threatens to invade half of Latin America. The man has the backbone of a chocolate eclair. So while the world processes like this geopolitical earthquake, what do we have Kash Patel doing?
Last day is today, but I want to talk about the FBI's role in especially transporting the leader of Venezuela.
Hey, it's great to be with you this morning, and thanks so much. Yes, the FBI's Critical Incident Response Group, CIRG, runs our tactical, aviation, and specialized operation units to include our hostage rescue team. And thankfully, this mission, orchestrated by President Trump, his courageous, decisive decision to lead us through this with the Department of War and our intelligence community, saw mission success because every component of this operation, every link in this chain was flawlessly executed by the experts in the intelligence community and law enforcement and military sectors, and we were proud to be a part of it.
He's on Fox and Friends doing what he does best, licking Trump's butt. Like his job depends on it, which, to be fair, it does. Patel's been up to a lot of shit. Patel is unfortunately our FBI director. And here he is praising this military operation like it's the greatest strategic victory since D-Day. He's nodding along enthusiastically, probably doesn't even know what day it is, doing everything short of asking Trump if he needs his shoes shined. So then we get to Don Jr., who's over on social media doing his own brand of stupid. He's free-sharing posts claiming that people like me who are protesting for different causes like Ukraine liberation, Palestinian liberation, you name it, that these are just paid actors, that we're all just getting paid. Just crisis performers collecting checks, probably from George Soros or whoever conspiracy villain of the week is. And Trump loves it. He's quote tweeting it. He quote tweets, Don Jr. quote tweets, nailed it, 100%. What a fucking idiot. Don Jr., this country, we care about immigrants because we were built by immigrants. We have rich ethnic diversity precisely because people from all around the world came here and brought their histories and their struggles and their connections to other places with them. Don Jr. should know this because his own stepmother is an immigrant. Half of Trump's inner circle, they're either immigrants or children of immigrants. Meanwhile, Don Jr. is completely unhinged, and President Trump is threatening multiple countries in the span of minutes.
Cuba is ready to fall. You know?
Yes.
Cuba looks like it's ready to fall. I don't know if they're going to hold out. But Cuba now has no income. They got all of their income from Venezuela, from the Venezuelan oil. They're not getting any of it. And Cuba literally is ready to fall. And you have a lot of great Cuban Americans that are going to be very happy about this.
Are you considering U.S. action in Cuba?
We're not. I think it's just going to fall. I don't think we need any action. It looks like it's going down. It's going down for the count. You ever watch a fight?
I have.
They go down for the count. And Cuba looks like it's going down.
Like he's just playing whack-a-mole with whatever country enters his brain, he comes out of his mouth. First it's Venezuela, then he pivots to Mexico.
And by the way, you have to do something with Mexico. Mexico has to get their act together because they're pouring through Mexico, and we're going to have to do something. We'd love Mexico to do it. They're capable of doing it. But unfortunately, the cartels are very strong in Mexico.
I remember one time you actually, speaking of Mexico, I asked you about Claudia Sheinbaum, and you told me at one point you had offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to combat drug trafficking there. Is that something you have spoken to her about?
I think she's a terrific person. I would say every single time I talk to her, I offered to send troops.
And she's just not willing?
concerned. She's a little afraid. The cartels are running Mexico. Whether you like it or not, it's not nice to say, but the cartels are running.
The cartels are running Mexico, he says. He's suggesting we might need to do something about it. And then he's talking about Colombia, and then in a truly deranged pivot, he starts talking about LA.
They didn't bring it down. Pritzker didn't bring it down. Same thing with Gavin Newsom. If we didn't go in to Los Angeles 7 months ago when they had the riots, even the police commissioner, the head of the police, said if we didn't have the federal government go in, we would have lost total control of the city of Los Angeles, and they would have had to cancel the Olympics.
Claiming that the city lost control and that he had to send in the feds or else they'd have to cancel the Olympics. Don't tempt me with a good time, Donald. I am very loudly anti-Olympics. And let me tell you why you should be too. If you want me to do a whole separate thing on this, I will. So let me know in the comments, because the Olympics is a financial black hole that will deepen our city's already massive financial deficit. It's also a civil rights catastrophe. We're talking about police state level surveillance, mass displacement of Black and brown communities, criminalization of homelessness, and authoritarian crackdowns on any sort of dissent. All of this in a city that's still trying to rebuild after the most devastating wildfires in our state's history. Wildfires that leveled entire neighborhoods just 1 year ago. So yeah, go ahead, threaten me with canceling the Olympics, please. But we're going to get back to Trump and his word salad, because at one point, a reporter asks him, why are you doing all this? Why Venezuela? Why now? What's the strategy? And Trump's response? Bridges.
Total access. We need access to the oil and to other things in their country that allow us to rebuild their country.
What other things?
A lot of things. Roads that aren't built, bridges that are falling down. Yeah, bridges that are falling down, nobody can go anywhere.
And on Greenland,
Bridges are falling down, bridges falling down. He just reaches into his brain, grabs the first noun he can find, and runs with it. And he's playing like Mad Libs, and the category is justifications for invading a sovereign nation. He's not Secretary of State. Marco Rubio is, though, and Rubio's been so invisible in this job that you could almost be forgiven for thinking that a random senator like Graham had taken over. Graham was on Air Force One. He joined Trump on Air Force One for a flight back to DC. He caught a ride from Mar-a-Lago, where he spent the trip doing what he does best, hyping up military action like it's
done it. And as to this commander-in-chief, he did something people talked about doing. You just wait for Cuba. Cuba is a communist dictatorship that's killed priests and nuns. They've preyed on their own people. Their days are numbered. We're going to wake up one day, I hope in 26, in our backyard, we're going to have allies in these countries doing business with America, not narco-terrorist dictators killing Americans. This is a big frigging day. And everybody in the world is thinking differently than they were just a few days ago because of what you did.
He told reporters the days are numbered for Cuba, which is crazy coming from Graham, who looks like he's on Hal's wait list. Your days are numbered, my man. You were born in the 50s. He bragged about tariffs, forcing India to buy less Russian oil. He called the Venezuelan operation a big friggin' day. Graham's been getting off to regime changes and dreaming of regime changes in Venezuela for years. And now he's finally getting it, which explains why he looks like a kid high on Christmas morning. He sees invasions as something to be genuinely giddy about, and Trump knows it, which is exactly why Graham got cast in the role of Kermit the Frog to his Oscar the Grouch. But let's get back to that moment of total access, because that's what Trump said needed to happen. Total access to Venezuela's oil, total access to their resources. And suddenly the entire operation crystallizes into something much simpler and much uglier than any official justifications. This isn't about democracy. This isn't about, any of that. Venezuela held elections. Were they fraudulent? Yes, certainly. Did Maduro steal them? Almost certainly. But the U.S. doesn't invade countries just because they have corrupt elections. If we did that, we'd be invading most of the planet. We supported dictatorships throughout Latin America for decades. We propped up these authoritarian regimes across the Middle East. We've turned a blind eye to stolen elections everywhere, from Azerbaijan to Zimbabwe, when it served our interests. And this isn't about drugs either. Trump keeps talking about Maduro running a narco state and the cartel of the Suns. And he's talking about fighting drug trafficking. But the experts say the cartel of the Suns is less of an organized cartel and more of a diffuse network of Venezuelan government corruption. And in Trump, if Trump really cared about fighting drug cartels, he wouldn't have pardoned Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, who was convicted literally of drug trafficking and sent to prison before Trump just set him free. So no, this is about oil. Venezuela has more proven oil reserves than any country on earth, over 300 billion barrels, 17% of the world's total. And American oil companies want access to it. Chevron wants access to it. ExxonMobil wants access to it. That's who we're fighting these wars for. They've been shut out since Venezuela nationalized its oil industry decades ago, and we've been just watching them as they've been waiting for an opportunity to get back in. Trump said it himself at a 2023 press conference. Venezuela was about to collapse. We would have taken it over and kept all the oil. And he's not even trying to hide it. He's telling you exactly what this is about. The Trump administration has explicitly cited Venezuela's oil nationalizations in 1976 and 2007 as justification for this operation, claiming that U.S. oil companies were just stolen from, and that we're taking back what's ours. Never mind that it was really never ours. Never mind that Venezuela is a sovereign nation with the right to control its own natural resources. This is resource imperialism, plain and simple. We're invading a country to secure access to their oil for American corporations, to make American corporations more money. And we're wrapping it in this language of liberation, of fighting drugs, of promoting democracy. We're bombing their capital. We're killing their civilians. We're kidnapping their president and calling it a rescue mission. And here's what makes it even more obscene. We're doing this while Americans at home are struggling. Like, we just want healthcare, student loan forgiveness, while people in LA, we're still rebuilding from the wildfires, while communities across the country are dealing with crumbling infrastructure, failing schools, inaccessible healthcare. We have money for bombs. There's always money for bombs. And we have money for special forces operation. We have money to occupy another country and run it until American oil companies can move on in and get a little bit richer. But we don't have money to fix the bridges Trump keeps rambling about here. This is who benefits from American military intervention. Chevron, ExxonMobil, oil executives who have been salivating over Venezuelan reserves for years. Defense contractors who get paid every time we drop a bomb. Politicians who get campaign contributions from both. And Trump, who's already talking about how much money we're going to make selling Venezuelan oil. This is why Lindsey Graham is grinning. He's got a piss grin on his face on Air Force One. This is why Marco Rubio is nodding along. This is why Kash Patel is on TV praising the whole operation. They know what this is really about. They all know who's going to profit from it, and it's not the American people. So here we are. We invaded a country. The reasons keep changing. And when Trump finally got honest about what he wanted, he said total access to their oil, their resources, their everything. Venezuelans spent years trying to get rid of their dictator, and now they're watching foreign companies line up to profit off of their country while being told that this is freedom. We've just proved that if you have enough weapons and if you want something badly enough, you can just take it and call it whatever you want. It sounds good on TV. And if this video has expanded your perspective, subscribe to get more of this. Katie Miller and Stephen Little Bitch Miller and their adjacent worldwide views would prefer that you stay in the dark about who really benefits from these operations. Don't let them win. Subscribe, turn notifications on. I am Lauren Paritra, and we'll be back with more.